the absolute last time I had dairy. Okay, so let's talk about what is the purpose of milk, okay? Because that's essentially what dairy is. I mean, there's many products of milk. Milk can be cheese, it could be butter, it could be yogurt, it could be sour cream. There are many byproducts of milk. But what is the purpose of milk for mammals? Because virtually every mammal on this earth produces milk for their offspring, okay, when they're young. The whole purpose of milk is essentially growth formula, okay? Now, the reason why I call it formula is because that formula is going to be different for every mammal, okay? The formula for a monkey versus a elephant versus a goat versus a cow is very different. You know, when you think about a cow, which is the type of milk that we quite often drink, that formula is designed to take 100-pound calf and make it 1,000-pound steer in about a year's time. Okay, so that's that growth formula for that cow. Now, we are not supposed to grow at that rate, so it's important for us to know and understand that. The other thing that's really important is this. No other mammal in the entire world drinks the milk of another mammal, okay? So you'll never see monkey drinking elephant's milk, or you'll never see a goat drinking cow's milk, okay? That's another really important factor because in this case, you know, of course, women produce milk for their young. And the important thing is to understand that that formula is made for a human baby. Okay, but we're the only mammals in the entire world that will drink the milk of another mammal. Okay, so that's really important. The other thing that's really important is this. No other mammal, with the exception of humans, actually drink milk after infancy. Okay, really huge point. And the reason why that's so important is because it's not only from the standpoint of if I were to offer milk to an adult cow, not only would they sniff it and walk away from it, but they know that that is not food for them, okay? And the other reason why that's so important is because after a certain age, babies lose their ability to break down, you know, certain enzymes, particularly the sugar in milk, okay? So like human babies lose the ability to break down lactose after a certain age. Okay, so it's hugely important for that reason too. So there is a cutoff point. And quite often that cutoff point is when the baby develops what we call, or used to call back in the day, milk teeth. So as soon as those milk teeth start to come in, that's an indication that, okay, now it's time to start weaning them off of the milk and moving them towards physical food. So of course, that food initially would be pureed food and then go on to, you know, more solid food. Okay, so hugely important. A lot of things have been lost in the process. The other thing that I think is really important for us to kind of know and understand about all of this is that what is milk typically made of? It's made of carbohydrates, fats, and proteins. Okay, now when you look at cow's milk, it's primarily made up of carbohydrate, which is a sugar, lactose. Okay, now when we look in the world today, 70 to 75% of the world's population is lactose intolerant, okay? Lactose intolerant means that you cannot tolerate the sugar lactose, okay? That is found in milk, okay? 70% of the world's population. Now, I would go out on a limb to say it's a little bit more. And the reason why I'll say that is because most people don't recognize the signs and symptoms of being intolerant to milk. That's the first thing. The other thing that I think is really important is that, especially for the Black and brown community, that number goes up exponentially, okay? We've seen in studies where, you know, Black and brown people, ranging from Africans like myself to Asians, they have an increased intolerance to milk as well too, okay? So keep that in mind as we kind of go through this, because you know, if the world is saying 75% of the population, okay, that's 3/4. That's 3 out of 4 people are intolerant to milk. That's saying that humans probably shouldn't be drinking milk. Okay, so that's the first thing, or its products. Okay, like I said, cheese, yogurt, sour cream, butter, etc. Really, really important. Okay, so the first main component of milk is going to be the sugar, the carbohydrate, the lactose. Okay, the other part is going to be the protein. Okay, particularly in cow's milk, you're going to find the proteins casein and whey. And I'm going to jump into why those two particular proteins are so dangerous in a bit, but it's really important to understand those are the particular proteins that are found in milk. And those, again, are the proteins that are designed to take 100-pound calf and make it 1,000-pound cow in about a year's time. Okay, really important. And then the other component is going to be the fat. Okay, and then when you're looking at the fat in cow's milk, 65% of it, 65% is saturated fat, the kind of fat that lines the walls of your vessels in the heart and cause a heart attack. Okay, that occlude the arteries and cause a stroke. 65% of that milk is made of that. Okay, really, really important. All right. And so milk quite often is one of the primary ways we load ourselves up with saturated fat. And I'll talk to you in a bit why that is a big problem. Okay. Now let's get into, there's some studies that were conducted by the PCRM, which is the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine. And they have linked milk, the same milk that they did the Got Milk commercials for, the same milk that the USDA was telling us that we should have in certain amounts every day for years in the food pyramid. Today's research, the studies have connected milk with heart disease, type 2 diabetes, Alzheimer's, breast cancer, ovarian cancer, and even prostate cancer. Okay? Again, one of the primary reasons is because milk is inflammatory to our bodies. It's very inflammatory to our bodies. I'll talk about that in a second, but milk is connected with all of those diseases. And when you start to look at them, many of them are in the top 5 causes of death for humans. Okay? Again, let's jump into now number 2, why milk is so scary. Okay, number 2 is because milk is a major source of hormones. Okay, and I cannot tell you the amount of issues that I'm seeing with both men and women when it comes to having hormonal imbalance. And one of the primary ways that we're driving that imbalance is by adding a lot of these hormones to our bodies that actually shouldn't be there. Now, what's really important to understand about it is that, yes, the milk that you're drinking today has tons of hormones in it that are what are called exogenous hormones. These are hormones that are injected into the animal, okay? And they inject these hormones into the animals to cause them to grow bigger in a shorter period of time. But also what's really important, particularly about cow's milk, is that not only do you have to be concerned about the hormones that are coming from the outside of the cow being injected into them, but you also have to be concerned about the hormones that are naturally produced by the cows. And the reason why I'm bringing that up is because a lot of people will go out and they'll buy milk that is so-called, grass-fed, no hormones, no antibiotics. But what they're not accounting for is the fact that the hormones that are naturally in the cow, when you consume the milk, you're getting those hormones. And those hormones are perfectly fine for a cow, but they're going to throw your hormones off. So it's really important to understand that, because not only, again, are you getting these unnatural man-made hormones being injected into the cow, which do damage enough by itself, but the hormones that are naturally produced by the cow are actually causing these, hormonal imbalances too. And these hormonal imbalances are leading to estrogen dominance in women that leads to having very severe PMS during their cycle. Okay, it also leads to breast cancer, ovarian cancer, all of these reproductive cancers, prostate cancer, testosterone issues in men, which is a huge issue that I brought up before, and I'll definitely do another video on. But a large source of the hormonal imbalance is coming from consuming dairy products, which is primarily, the foundation is milk. Okay, even acne, a lot of acne that is happening today is hormonal as well too. Number 3, Number 3, the reason why dairy is scary is because of the protein, particularly the casein protein. What we've been able to see in studies, particularly the study conducted by the China Project. The China Project is a 30-year study conducted with over 6,000 participants and over 600 different metrics that they measure. And one of the things that they found was that casein increased the risk for developing cancer. Okay, casein, the protein that is in milk. Okay, not not something that they injected in the cow, something that is naturally there, because that is good for the cow, but not necessarily good for you as the human being. But the casein increases the risk for cancer. And what they found is that casein protein increases what is called IGF-1. IGF-1 is insulin growth factor, okay, which is inflammatory, and not only inflammatory to the body, so it could be the cause of your joint and muscle pain, but also it's inflammatory where it causes, if you have tumors in a body, it causes those tumors to grow, okay? So casein is another reason why dairy is so scary, okay? Now, I know if you're like shaking in your boots at this point because most of this information is new to you, again, it's really important to understand that a lot of the science that we grew up on and they were telling us this is the way we should eat, these are the things that are healthy for us, a lot of that is outdated and antiquated, okay? So this is just me merely giving you a PSA, okay? The other thing why dairy is so scary is because it increases your exposure to pesticides, herbicides, and insecticides. And the reason why is because cows are fed genetically modified soy and corn. Most cows are not grass-fed, okay? I will go out on a limb to say 90% of cows are not grass-fed, okay? And it's probably leaning more closer to 98%. And the reason why is because cows aren't growing on a farm, grazing, out, okay? They're in stalls and livestock, farms. They're not being, it's not like the picture that they put on the milk carton, okay? They've been grown in these mass factories. They grew up shoulder to shoulder to each other. They're not able to roam and eat grass, okay? Which is what they're supposed to be eating, okay? And so as a result, a lot of these cows are being fed this genetically modified soy and corn and so forth because it's cheap, one. And that's genetically modified soy and corn, which 90% of soy and about 95% of corn today is genetically modified. It has to be sprayed with pesticides, herbicides, and insecticides. I mean, I'm a farmer, I own a farm. You can see these people out in the fields, spraying their crops in hazmat suits, because it's so dangerous. And if you look up, some of the statistics on farmers who grow conventionally, because conventional means they're growing by spraying, the increase in the amount of cancer in these farmers is crazy, okay? And so a lot of these animals are being fed this genetically modified corn and soy, which is sprayed with pesticides, herbicides, and insecticides. And these things kill all pesticides. These things will kill off certain herbs, why we want to kill off herbs, but we do because they can overgrow and strangle the crop sometimes. And insects, which is really important because some of these insects are pollinating, but they kill these things off. And when they kill them off, they also are unfortunately unhealthy for you as well when you consume them. When they spray these plants with these pesticides, herbicides, and insecticides, the unfortunate thing is that they don't leave. A lot of this you can't just wash off, okay? So it's really important. Increasing your pesticides, herbicides, and insecticides is going to increase the amount of gut inflammation and gut dysbiosis, an unhealthy gut, but it's also going to lead to an increase in cancer as well too. All right. And also you're getting a lot of antibiotics as well too. It increases your exposure to antibiotics when you're consuming milk as well too. Number 5, brittle bones. Again, I know that you've been taught or I was just definitely taught that you needed to drink milk to get strong bones. But all of the new data, all of the new studies are showing us that it does not do that. As a matter of fact,